Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webcast. Today we are going to talk a little bit about one of Microsoft's newer offerings, a tool called AI Builder. My name is Amanda Teschko. I'm a business intelligence and analytics consultant with Thorogood. I am joining you guys today from my home in Philadelphia, which is just a couple blocks from our office here. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Emily, who will be sharing some demonstrations with you. For the agenda today, I will start off with a little bit of an introduction about Thorogood. We'll do just a very quick overview of what AI is, why everybody's talking about it at the moment. And then we'll really jump into an intro of Microsoft's AI Builder tool. Emily will take you through a use case and a demonstration, and then we will wrap up. And so I'll start off today by just a little bit about Thorogood. So for those of you who don't know us, we are an independent global professional services firm that specializes in BI and analytics. We provide our customers a range of different strategy solutions and services that really pertain to data engineering, data science, and data visualization. We are a global company, as you can see on the screen, so with offices in London, Boston, Philadelphia, where I'm at today, Singapore, Sao Paulo, and Bangalore. And all of our consultants are recruited and trained the same way globally to really develop a unique mix of skills that looks to blend business understanding in the form of industry and functional expertise with really strong technical aptitude and a really deep understanding of different analytic tools and techniques. We work with a number of blue chip customers, and those customers predominantly draw from the four sectors I'm showing you on the screen here. So consumer goods, pharma and life sciences, and then financial services and insurance. And we are an independent consultancy, which means that we partner with a range of different technology vendors. We typically help our customers consider how they can adopt enterprise applications across a range of different technologies in the space. And today we'll be talking a little bit about a Microsoft product, AI Builder. We are gold partners with Microsoft across a range of different competencies, as you can see in the top left. But if you do have any questions about how these AI solutions might work in different Microsoft technologies or in technologies that exist in some of the other platforms that we work with, feel free to reach out to Emily and I, and we can help you with discussions about those things as well. So with that out of the way, I thought let's start today by just talking a little bit about AI and what AI is. So what do we really mean when we say AI? Now, that sounds like a pretty easy question, but I think there are many terms that are really used interchangeably today. And what we're seeing are many people kind of drawing lines between what is AI and what isn't AI. So for today's session, I thought best to just kind of defer to Merriam-Webster. So what is the dictionary definition of AI? AI is really a bit of an umbrella term. And it can be defined very simply as a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers. This can actually be applied pretty broadly, you're probably thinking, and we see companies, apply it narrowly and broadly. But I think the key to understanding what AI is really about computers performing a task that usually requires some form of human intelligence. And I figured while we're here on definitions, we might as well talk about this one as well, because people are often wondering, are AI and machine learning the same thing? Are they a bit different? And I think they're very similar and related. But a key aspect of machine learning is really the computer's ability to improve its performance and to learn somewhat autonomously. So as it's fed new information, a continuous process really occurs that evolves the computer's understanding of it. Now, these two things may sound a bit futuristic, but we really encounter AI in our daily lives, and in some ways, whether we want to or not, and whether we notice it or not. So what are some just very common applications of AI that we might run into on a day-to-day basis? Well, every time I look at my phone and it recognizes my face to unlock, that's using a form of facial recognition. That is a bit of artificial intelligence that uses machine learning algorithms to perfect knowing who I am and if I should be able to get into my phone. When we're browsing through Netflix and it's recommending shows, a similar engine is at work, an algorithm meant to optimize and learn more about my taste and preferences based on my behaviors, but also the behaviors of the wider pool to be able to influence those recommendations. With that, I thought I would talk a little bit about what's happening with this AI Builder tool and really more generally in the space, really about the notion of democratizing AI or making AI accessible for all people within an organization. I think it's important to start really with the foundation of it and thinking that Data and analytics have really become increasingly democratized over time. And what do we mean by that? Well, initially starting with just the data itself, companies have been looking for decades now about how they can make that data more accessible to everybody within the organization. That might have been through structured reports initially, and more recently through databases or through other self-service tools. But what we've really seen is an evolution in which we first wanted to democratize the data to make that available to as many people as possible. Then we've really seen an evolution of the tools in the self-service space that have allowed people to be able to play more with that data, to be able to find their own insights in it, to do ad hoc analysis in it, making that analysis more democratized. And then I think what we've really seen really in the last few years, especially as cloud computing has gotten to be so popular, is a democratization of the processing power and storage of data. So cloud has allowed us to be able to spin up environments very quickly, to create sandbox environments that data scientists or data analysts can store their own data in, can use this strong processing power behind it to be able to run different algorithms. And what that's really caused is an increase in the way that we can apply these advanced algorithms in different AI and machine learning approaches. And towards the end of that arrow there, you'll see what we're starting to see is much more democratization around sharing the AI models that have been built. So where algorithms have been trained and tuned to deliver insights, we see organizations thinking about how they can make those models widely available. So can they be embedded into existing tools? Can they the output of those models be incorporated into other solutions or into other databases? Can they be accessed via calls to web servers, for example? The last step of that, or the next step, I should say, is really where we're going to start seeing AI Builder go, which is in a world in which people are more accustomed to using these AI models, do we make them available for everyday users, for business users, for analysts and organizations to be able to create their own artificial intelligence and machine learning models? And that's really the direction we're going to talk about a little bit today. Why do we even think that that's a possibility? Well, I mentioned on the previous slide, we are already adopters of AI. So where this democratization of AI might have had more, people might have been more apprehensive about it in the past, we've gotten to a place in society where people do expect to trust machines, where they expect that the recommendations that come out of Netflix are going to be pretty good at predicting their interests. I think I read recently that 75% of all shows watched on Netflix actually come from the recommendations that their algorithm proposes. So people are finding that, they are finding and discovering content that's useful for them, that is tailored to their interests. We're used to interacting with chatbots. So the first line of customer service in many instances to type a couple sentences into a bot and see how far we can get. So I think as we've started to see humans understand the role that AI can play in their daily lives, it's really causing corporations to think much more about how can we build these AI components into the decisions that have to be made from a business perspective every single day. What we're really seeing is technology vendors kind of embracing this and thinking about the role that they can play in democratizing AI and making the things like consumption of AI models, but also the creation of those models more accessible by more people. One of the ways that they're looking to do that is to create tools that kind of take AI out of this ivory tower that it had been in before that often required deep data science expertise, deep data engineering expertise, usually pretty robust infrastructures, and allows it to be more accessible by everyday users by using things like low-code or no-code development platforms, using kind of drag and drop models that make things a bit more visual for people to see how models are being created, or using things like pre-trained models or easy-to-train algorithms, which Emily will show you some descriptions of today. In many ways, AI Builder is one kind of subset of tools that Microsoft is kind of providing to try to move the world in this direction. And I think that you'll see in the demonstration today, there is a lot of value and benefit in being able to embed the capabilities of AI within these different tool sets and to get more people able to leverage and use some of these things. But there are some drawbacks and considerations for it as well. So are they used responsibly? How do you govern it appropriately? So what we're going to do today is just show one example of it, which is Microsoft AI Builder. But we're certainly happy to have a dialogue with you if you have questions about what more advanced approaches of AI might look like and what some of the challenges that might come in enabling the organization to do more AI might be as well. So I think in anything, it's about balance. And if you have more questions about those things, we're happy to talk to you about them. And I'm sure we'll do some follow-up sessions on some of those considerations as well. But with that as a bit of background, what I'll do is I'll hand it over to Emily, and she's going to talk to you about the AI Builder platform in particular.
Thank you, Amanda. We're now going to pivot over to AI Builder specifically. But in order to do that, we first need to be somewhat familiar with Microsoft's Power Platform. So the Power Platform is a suite of products intended to streamline analytics, app development, and workflow automation in a low-code environment. The platform enables business users to efficiently, collaboratively, and systematically interact with data with the ultimate goal of deriving meaningful insights to drive business. The suite consists of 4 main components: Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agents. So Power BI allows users to connect to data, so clean, slice, and dice that data, create visuals, and then easily share that information. Power Apps enables users to quickly build apps in an intuitive, low-code interface. With Power Automate, users can design and create workflow automation directly into apps and other work streams. And Power Virtual Agents is a tool for creating and integrating chatbots. So AI Builder is a cross-cutting feature within this suite. In other words, it is a capability that can be applied to the various platforms. So within the interface of these services, AI Builder exists on the toolbar, and we'll see this a little bit later. So as a tool within this suite, AI Builder essentially offers pre-packaged common use AI models. This tool allows you to quickly apply these models without needing to know all of the complexity, all of the code, and all of the logic actually driving them. You're essentially leveraging the investment that Microsoft has made in AI development to enhance performance in your apps and in your workflows. AI Builder's capabilities come in 2 forms, trainable and plug and play. So these 5 boxes right here are capabilities that you train with your own data. So what do we mean when we say train a model? For AI, we mean feeding data points to that algorithm to optimize output. So the underlying algorithm is already pre-established, but you need information or data to customize them to your specific use case. So for example, object detection. If you want this algorithm to detect cats, you have to show it a few pictures of cats and say, yes, this is what I want you to recognize. This training involves uploading at least 5 images or documents and then simply clicking on what aspects of these pictures or documents you want the algorithm to detect, extract, or process. You essentially just have to point the existing algorithm in the right direction and you're ready to go. So we'll show an example of this in just a few minutes. Then we have a group of plug and play or ready to go models that do not need any additional training. Microsoft has already trained and optimized these algorithms with large data sets. These include business card extraction, language detection, and sentiment analysis. Pretty standard objective algorithms that don't require any fine-tuning. So when you choose to use one of these models, you're prompted to either use it in an app or in a workflow. There's no intermediate training step. You just plug it right in. So big picture, there's just no sense in remaking some of these fundamental algorithms. So object recognition, language detection, we don't really need to reinvent the wheel here. AI Builder lets you leverage what's already been developed. This tool is intuitive, no code, and accessible to most skill levels. It's quick and it's easy to integrate into apps and flows. But with those benefits comes the caveat that AI Builder does not give you the ability to create more advanced, highly specific algorithms. That would be extremely difficult in a no-code environment and just not really real. So depending on your use case, this tool might be all you need, or it might be way too simplistic. Okay, so that was a lot of information, and I think it would be really helpful to show you rather than just talk through it. We've designed a pretty simple business use case to give you an idea of how AI Builder can really help in streamlining processing and analytics. So the situation, a market research agency is consulted to report on customer feedback regarding an airline's response to COVID-19. A survey is distributed to passengers and then collected. The marketing research agency compiles the feedback and provides meaningful insight back to the airline via a Power BI dashboard. Okay, so high level, what's happening with this business use case? One, we're receiving feedback forms and scanning them as PDFs into our database. As I'm sure some analysts can understand, PDFs present a unique challenge in that it's a bit more complicated to extract information. So each time a new PDF is uploaded into this database, a flow is triggered in Power Automate. This flow consists of extracting relevant feedback from the forms, analyzing the sentiment of that feedback, and then populating an Excel sheet with the probability that any specific extracted feedback was positive. So we're going to get a number between 0 and 1. The flow then pushes that Excel sheet to a Power BI workspace, and from there we can publish insights on customer feedback to a dashboard. So AI really comes in the extract and process feedback and analyze sentiment aspects of this. Okay, so here's the form that we want to analyze. We're specifically interested in these open-ended questions. Again, this form is being uploaded as a PDF, which makes it just a little bit more challenging using standard methods to extract. So I'm now going to flip over to Power Automate. This is my home page from which I can kind of access my existing flows and create new ones. But I want to point our attention towards the toolbar on the left side of the screen right over here. This is where we're going to find AI Builder. So to use AI Builder, we're given the option to either call upon an existing model or build a new one. For our airline feedback, we'll want to build a new one. I'm now directed to the AI Builder interface that will allow me to choose from either the trainable or plug-and-play models. So we saw these boxes earlier in the presentation. I want to process unique feedback from a specific form. So I'm going to train a model using form processing. So this model right here. So we'll just go ahead and click on that. And I'm just going to name this. And you can see here, there's a list of requirements that I'm going to need in order to train this model. In this case, 5 documents with the same layout. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create that model. It's asking me now to choose information to extract. In the case of my feedback form, I want to extract the feedback from safety, so how customers responded to safety protocol, service, and overall experience. So this is the information, again, that I want to extract from my forms. So the next step is adding documents. This is part of the training process. We're going to be asked to upload and analyze 5 documents. This usually takes a few minutes. So I've actually already done that. We're just going to skip right to the next step. We're then asked to train our models. This is where we identify what we want extracted for each of our given fields. This is a pretty straightforward click and drag procedure. You just highlight what you want extracted from each document. So for example, over here, you can see service. These are my 3 selected fields over here. We have service, safety, and experience. So to identify, we'll start with safety because that's at the top of my form. I simply click draw in document, and then I highlight the information that I want extracted. Then you just essentially go through your document, identifying the information that you want extracted for each entry. Yep. And so once you've done that, you do that for all 5 documents. As you can, like AI Builder's already picking up on what information it thinks I want to extract, and this happens to be correct, so we're just going to move on. After you do this for all 5 documents, I guess we can kind of scroll through this quickly because it's really picking it up. So after you identify all the information you want to extract, you have to train your model, and this usually takes a few minutes to process, just as AI Builder's kind of analyzing the documents. So I've already done this. I've already trained my model. But once that is done, you're going to be able to see your model in the Model tab of AI Builder. So if I go back here to models, I can see the model that I just built. So that was pretty easy. I just created a unique model for these airline feedback forms. Now this model is much more useful when integrated into an app or a flow, so I'll walk you through how I used it in a specific flow. This is my flow diagram. Just for reference, everything that is purple is using AI Builder. So to trigger my flow, starting up top here, I just need to upload a new PDF form to a specific folder. Once that happens, I call upon my form processing model right here to extract the feedback information I want. And then I'm going to put that information into an Excel table in this step right here. From there, I want to analyze the sentiment of each row that I just added to that Excel file. So I'll use AI Builder's plug-and-play sentiment analysis tool for that. I'm going to put that sentiment analysis into another Excel table and then push that up to Power BI. So just to give you an idea of what those plug-and-play models look like, if we just click here, you can see I want it to recognize English language. That's what I'm expecting my forms to come in as. And then what text? So in this case, open-ended response to safety. That's what I wanted to analyze. This sentiment analysis will give you the option of how you want to basically analyze that sentiment. So I've set up this specific sentiment analysis to give me a number between 0 and 1 based on the probability that the feedback was positive. So 0, not positive, 1, very positive. So then I'm just going to flip over to this Power BI dashboard. This is a pretty simplistic dashboard, but we can easily convey the aggregate sentiment on each of our 3 categories. Within your dashboard, you can include drill downs into the actual feedback sentences or breakdowns of sentiment by specific demographic or even like triggers to change color if the sentiment falls below a certain threshold. So there's quite a bit you can do within your Power BI dashboard. So just to sum up what we did, we're uploading our feedback forms as PDFs, pushing them through a flow in which the feedback is extracted and analyzed for sentiment, and then that information is pushed to a Power BI dashboard. Key takeaways. AI Builder is a capability embedded within the Power platform. It enables people without data science backgrounds to bring common use AI algorithms to apps and flows. This tool offers prepackaged algorithms in those 2 classes that we talked about, trainable and plug and play. With that, it could be all you need, or this tool could be way too simplistic. But overall, AI Builder is a great first place to start when integrating AI. So thank you for your time, and please do not hesitate to reach out. Have a nice day.